What's up guys? So in this video, I'm going to be breaking down how you can generate extremely high photorealistic AI PBR textures using Freepik. And of course, we're going to bring it into Blender and combine everything in there. But I won't talk too much, so we'll jump straight into it. But hope you guys enjoy and let me know if you guys want to see anything else. If you want access to this exact workflow, you can actually get access to it down below. It's completely free. The only thing I ask for is just to leave a like and subscribe. The benefits of that is you can actually go into this exact file and use the prompts and generate your own things using this exact setup. So I encourage you to go do that. As you can see right here, this is the same workflow, but duplicated multiple times just to see what it's really capable of. We'll quickly just run through it before I get into it so you can get an idea. It does a fantastic job at if you were to give it an image. So for example, we can see I gave it this image and I wanted it to recreate the texture. So as you can see, it did a fantastic job recreating the texture. And then we can simply just tell it, there's no complex prompts here. It's literally just, can you generate a 3D normals map with this texture? And it does exactly that, displacement map as well as with roughness, which is insanely good and really helpful because we can create some extremely high detailed textures and it gives us a lot more variety. And I'll show you what I mean in just a sec. But we can see here, I can give it this building texture, right? And if I wanted to do projection mapping, I can give it this and then it can generate me this, which is just the diffuse. So it turned that image into a completely flat image with no distortion, completely removed the shadows and the lighting. So just giving us the diffuse material, which is kind of insane. And then of course we have the normals and then everything else, right? Like crazy. There's a lot of examples. Here's another example here. This one's just using an upscaler, but using a creative upscaler, which is what Magnific does. We can give it this texture, which is 2D texture, tell it to 2 times upscale it, but we put it in the creative mode, which then generates more details and kind of gets creative with the details instead of just upscaling. So it did upscale it to 4K, as you can see, ridiculously high fidelity here, but it also just adds more cracks, more details and all that. So we did that. And then we can see here, it gave us back these 4K, extremely high quality textures. So these are all pretty much the same concepts, just different executions. So I'll quickly show you as well. I was on a call with my students this morning and we went through and created this texture, which is a tiling texture. Not literally a tiling texture, but like it's a tiling texture in the sense that we can, no matter how small we shrink it and scale it, it's always going to duplicate perfectly. And then what we could do there is generate the displacement map. And then what we could do, because it's exactly the same texture, we can just tell it to make it all dirty and grungy. And because it's the exact same texture, we can then take these 2 images and combine them and they make a perfect material. So we can see here, it generated this really, really high quality texture. And what we could do is if you zoom out here, we can see I just used a noise node to combine the 2. So if I go here, we can see we have some noise, which then I can control. I can add and take away as much as I want. And if I come back down here, we can see it just effects in the different areas. So it's just a really fast way to adding a lot of detail and have a lot of control over what you're doing. Because this is crazy to me. And this is just a basic texture tree, right? We just have our 2 textures here and we just combine them both with a noise texture. And then that's it. And it looks fantastic. So let's jump straight into it. I'll quickly just run you through it. It's a very simple setup. If you haven't used Freepik before, this is, in my personal opinion, probably one of the best AI generators out there. It gives you access to so many things. It has so many options. But my favorite feature is this spaces feature, which gives us a node tree style setup for generating images, which I found makes it easier to get an idea of what's happening. And I can see exactly what's working. How can I do this? What can I do there? And then also I can do multiple things at once. So let's start with opening up a new project. This is what we see when we open up a new project. You can start with whatever you want. I'm just going to press an image generator for now. And then I'm going to make sure Nano Banana Pro is selected, as you can see here. And then because for this one, we're going to create a tiling texture. So one that kind of loops, we can change the scale and it all stays seamless. We're trying to create a seamless texture, right? So I'm going to change it to 2K. When you change it to 4K, it starts to generate credits on Freepik. Depending on what subscription you have, you can do unlimited 2K renders. So I found that 2K works perfectly fine. And I'd rather spend my credits on other things. That workflow that I showed you before has everything in it. So of course, to access it, it's all in the description below and it's completely free. So this will be in there. This is just the prompt that I've been using to get that flat texture look, okay? So what we can do is I found that we can just replace here. So right at the moment I have like gray cement, right? If we go to like brown, tan, tiles, as we can see tileable, let's say you can add more to this and you can also take away. Of course, the more you add, the more detail you can get and more precise you can get with things. So just to be 100%, I want to make sure it's going to be a seamless texture. and then we can generate and see what this will give us. So while waiting for that to load, one of my favorite features inside Freepik is the assistant. So this is like a prompt assistant. So what we can do, if I was to give it to the exact same prompt here, what we can do is it will enhance it and make it a lot better and make it a lot more precise for the AI to understand. So if this doesn't work, we can always try that. So this is pretty good. It's very, very small though. I think I want to have a little bit more of a large scale texture. What we can do, let's see what happens when we run this one. So what we can do here is with this assistant, this prompt assistant, we can actually do so many things. So we can do audio input, we can do text, we can do media as well. So what this means is we can feed it those things, it can analyze that thing and then turn it into a prompt. So what I like to do with that, and while that's loading, we'll go back to this other one. We can see that I do that for this one here. So to help it get a really, really clear idea of what I'm asking for, I can take this, plug it into my prompt assistant, and then also plug it into my image generator. And as we can see, once I plug it in, I tell it what I want. So it's like asking it to generate the building that is like ready for 3D meshes. It will actually analyze this and break it down in that structure. And then it will give me a better prompt. So if we go to the result, we can see here, it made this insanely detailed prompt that the AI can read, and then it can produce a better outcome. Something that I also did and what I'm trying around with is system prompts. You can use system prompts. So if you go to this little setting button, you can see there's a system prompt here. I found that this works. If it's really struggling, we can use this and really try to see if we can pinpoint and get exactly what we're looking for. AI is a fun thing where sometimes it will work perfectly the first time, but then if we try to do something else, it might not quite understand. So sometimes your first prompt is never going to be enough. Sometimes it is, and you can get lucky and it's perfect every single time. The thing with AI is you just got to keep generating over and over again to eventually get what you're looking for. And then what we can do as well is like you can just try different prompts, or you can try enhancing different prompts, and there's so much we can do. So we can see here it gave us now this, which is not too bad actually, and we can see here this is going to tile perfectly. So let's use this, and then let's just drag it out again. And we can simply just ask it to make sure the settings are all the same. Make sure the scale is the same as well, the 1 by 1. And what we can just ask is, so can you generate a displacement texture, displacement, let's be more specific, displacement map from this texture. And then let's press generate. And that should hopefully give us exactly what we're looking for. If you want the normals and the roughness, you can basically say the exact same thing, just switch out, change it from a displacement map to a normals map. And then that there will generate us everything that we need. So here's another example of using one texture, right? We have this texture, which is a plain concrete texture. And we can see that it has all these cracks. When I asked it to generate into a displacement map, we can see that it worked basically perfect. Like this looks like it added all the cracks. And if I was to drag this into Blender, it'll give me all this detail. Something that I thought was awesome is when I asked it to de-age it and make it a bit more dirty, we can see here that it enhanced those cracks. Those cracks are exactly the same. We can see here that this crack going down to the side here is the exact same one here, which I thought was pretty awesome. But yeah, we can, if I go up to our examples here, we can see all I said was just, can you generate a 3D normals map of this texture? And then I did the exact same. Can you generate a 3D displacement map of this texture? And then so on, right? And as we can see here, it now analyzed it and pretty much gave us exactly what we're looking for, which is sweet. So this here is technically the foundation of everything I just showed you. See, if we wanted to now generate a broken tile version, all you got to do is just drag it out or add in another image generator, and you just describe exactly that. The hardest part is always kind of generating that first iteration. And once you have it, it seems to have a pretty good grasp of what you're looking for. So if I was to ask it to make this texture aged, old, stained, broken tiles, right? So if we tell it to do that, and then before we do that, we'll just add in another one. And this is kind of the bonus of the node workflow, right? What we can do is we can come here and just copy this other one, this prompt here, paste it in here. And then so that when I click play on this, we can see it's either you can just run just this node, or you can run from here. So whatever is connected to this, it's going to run whatever's connected next in the pipeline. So if I click that, it's going to run this one and then that one, which then saves us time. For example, if we come to here, these are all workflows. So if you wanted to do these yourself, you absolutely can. You can drag in your own image here, connect it up, and then you just click play at this prompt right here and then press run from here. It's going to run this entire pipeline and give you exactly what you want, basically first try, which is amazing. You do the same here, right? Just click play on it and then run. You're going to see this one costs credits, and that's because these 3 here are in 4K, as well as this is the upscaler, which then costs credits as well. But you don't need that. Of course, like I said, depending on the subscription you have, will depend on if it, if you get free generations or not. So I like to just use 2D textures. As you can see, this workflow here will be completely free. It's unlimited. So we can just keep generating over and over again because this is all 2K stuff, 2K textures. But yeah, there's all these examples, and yeah, feel free to use these and just add your own. And for this one as well, like feel free to change it up. Don't be afraid to use this and be like, instead of saying gray concrete, let's say grass. I'm curious on what grass will probably give us. I don't know if that will work, but let's give it a go. So if I click that, we can say all workflow, right? And now it's going to run these 2, and then it's going to finish running all those. See, now it's going to do all at once, which is awesome, incredible, easy. I just press it and now we just see what happens. Now we can see here, wow, beautiful. Like it worked perfectly pretty much the first try. And like I said before, because this is all exactly the same, like this is the exact same texture as this, it's going to tile perfectly and it's going to blend perfectly with this other texture. So let's download this and I'll show you how you can implement it. And I'll do it really, really quick. This has already gone for a little while. So I'll try to explain it extremely quick, and I'll leave the detailed how to do texturing in Blender for another video. So once I download all that, let's open up Blender. We can see this is my project here. As you can see, I already have a super high detailed mesh here. Now, because this is an extremely high poly mesh, which is not ideal, especially if you're doing big scenes. If you're doing smaller detailed scenes like this one, where all I'm focusing on is the ground, it works fine. But of course, the more you're going to have, the more computing power you're going to have. As you can see, this mesh has about 2 million faces. So that is not ideal. But in this circumstance, just to show you the detail of it all, we are going to use it. So if I pull up now those textures that I just downloaded, so we have 4 textures. I'm going to drag them all in here. So as we see here, so this is the displacement. So we have displacement for this texture. We have displacement for this texture. And then, okay, we have displacement. Sorry, we have the diffuse displacement, diffuse. Okay, so let's take this diffuse, plug it straight into this BSDF, and now we can see we have a material added to our mesh. Now, if you have Node Wrangler turned on, which you can turn on in the add-ons, we're just going to press Control T, which gives us a mapping node, and then we can now scale it down. And as you can see, when we scale it down, it tiles perfectly, which is amazing, incredible. So the best part about this is now we can grab this displacement, of course, plug it into a displacement node, straight into the displacement, and we can see it doesn't quite line up, and that's because we don't have the mapping attached to it. And now we can see right here. So if I go into my camera, we can now see that it's given us a little bit. It's giving us normals, but it's not actually displacing. And what we have to do there is we'll just have to go into our material tab and then make sure we come down to displacement settings and then see how it says bump only. It means it's displaying only the bump. We want to display the displacement and the bump. And as you can see, it's now working, but it's way too much. So now let's scale it down quite a bit. Scale it down even more. All right. So we can see now it's working. This is still way too high. So let's go 2. That's still just a little too high. And then we can see here, that works pretty well. Make sure we shade smooth. Now we have our texture displacing exactly how it should be. Super high resolution mesh here. Now, how will we mix those 2 textures? Well, now we want to do basically the same thing. So we have our diffuse up here. We want to add in a BSDF principle, and then we're going to plug the diffuse into that. So we can see we have diffuse here. We're going to make sure we plug it into our mapping node. So now it all lines up perfectly. You can see there. And then what we're going to do is now mix these 2 shaders, which is simply by just adding in a mix shader. Right? And then once we mix them 2, we can see now they're completely mixed. But as you can see, the factor, if we slide it to one side, we can see more of one. If we slide to the other side, we can see more than the other. So what we'd want to do is then use a noise, right? A noise texture to then start displacing it. Let's add in a quick mapping node. And now let's have a look. So this is what it looks like. What we want to do, we can see how soft it is. So we see the 2 values here. We have the white and the black values. But right now, there's not really any white and black. It's more so like a gray smudge. And so that's why it looks like it's still just faded in between each other. So the way that we can fix that is by just adding in a color ramp. And then if we have a look here, we can just intensify it just a little bit, right? So now we can start seeing more of the black. We can start seeing more of the white. So it's more of like a stronger transition between the two textures. And then we can bring up the detail. So we have a little bit more blending here. And we also just change the scaling. And this is all personal preference at the end of the day. Let's say we work with that. And now once we shift back, we can see it's now displaying only in those areas. So now we're mixing two textures. And now we have quite a dynamic looking texture, which is quite awesome. Now, the problem here is it's not actually displacing both of the textures. It's only displacing one. And that's because the displacement down here is not connected to any of this, right? What we just mixed was just the textures. We didn't mix the displacements. So if we wanted to mix the displacements, if we were to grab the both of them here, if we just use a mix node, because we're mixing textures instead of shaders. So if we go mix to the A, and then this one can be straight into the B. As we can see here, now they're kind of getting mixed, and we just got to do the same thing we did down here. And what we can do is just connect it to the same one so that it has the exact same values, and make sure we plug it straight into the mapping node. And now, as we can see, we have it now displacing both the textures. And then now there's another problem here. It's actually displacing in the wrong areas, right? Now it's displacing the broken brick over here when it should be over here. That's just simply easy to fix by just switching these around. And then boom, as we can see, it now gives us quite a nice dynamic looking displacement. Like look at that detail already. And then of course we can go further with this. I'm not going to try to stick too long on this. This is some of the most basic texturing that you can do inside Blender. Some quick tips to make this really realistic is, so first of all, let's try bringing up this just a little bit more again. So now we have a little bit more detail going on. What we can do is, so we can use this clean displacement to plug it straight into a bump map, which will then plug it into our normals. And then we can make it just a little bit. And we can see already a little bit more detail going there. And let's do the exact same thing for this one. Grab the height and plug it straight into this one. And you see it just adds that little bit more detail going on. So we're using those 4 textures, which is 2 is the diffuse and then 2 is the displacement. We could also generate the normals and everything else. Sometimes I've just found that I've been able to make it work without that. We can go into more in depth, add more details, and start building from there up. That's enough from me. I'm going to stop talking. In another video, I can go more in depth into the texturing if that's what you might want to see. But for now, if you want access to this workflow, it's completely free. It's down in the description. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.